Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is some Back 4 Blood beta thoughts, and by the time you hear these and see this video, you should have seen some footage of me playing and some general gameplay, just to give you an idea of what it is, without me talking about it or tainting the view or your personal opinion of it. And at this point it's been a week or so since the beta. I jumped on a little bit in complete regards here for candour. I did not find it to be that impressive. I don't know how you guys feel, you'll have to tell me in the comments. But the beta did offer a decent chunk of the game to play, and the game comes out in the coming October, a couple months after this. And they've just announced that it's gone gold, which is video game terminology for the game is complete. And I really hope that the version that you're watching right now is a different version than the version that has gone gold, and I hope that a lot of improvements and tweaks and refinements have been made, because I definitely felt that there were parts of this that just weren't up to the standard that I was looking for. Of course, I do have very high standards when it comes to this, because I played Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, and those games were classics over a decade ago, so this game has some pretty big shoes to fill. And at the beginning here of the video, you'll notice there was a bit of a jump in the edit, where it went from us waiting 4 minutes to like 2 minutes, and you could not play this on your own, this beta. You couldn't matchmake with the AI and practice on the servers and just kind of do your own run while listening to some music and watching a TV show or whatever it is you wanted to do. You had to matchmake with other people, and some people like doing that. Some people like matchmaking with humans and just running randoms and having a good time and seeing what you can do. If you watch streams of people playing with randoms trying to carry, it can actually be pretty interesting, because if you've ever done it yourself, you'll know that randoms are just absolutely, as the name implies, sporadic at best. Sometimes you get really good players who are super competent and know what they're doing. Other times you get people that you wonder how they even opened the game case to put the disc in their console. So it's always eventful, shall we say. And one of the problems with this game when you matchmake with people is you have to be put into the mercy of the matchmaking system, which is looking for other people to play with you. So the amount of times I would matchmake for the game to try and even record footage or just try it out, and then it just simply would not find people on anything but the very first mission, which is what you're watching right now. And I would play a little bit, and then everyone would leave and I'd be left with the bots, able to play on my own, and that was kind of interesting, being able to play with the bots. But then you realise that the bots themselves are kind of garbage in this game, which is really funny. But a lot of the times you'd get one or two people leaving, and then you get people standing around, and when people stand around the game never moves on, and unless the game boots them after a certain amount of time, you just get into these moments where you're waiting for other people a lot. And that very early part there in the game, where I trimmed the footage of about 2 minutes, was me waiting for people to essentially move so we could access the shop and open the weapon crates. And this is one of those things where obviously this is not the game's fault. This is something that happens when you rely on random people. And I'm not one of those people, guys, that goes onto random games, jumps into a 4-player co-op on my microphone being like, "What's going on, guys? Let's have a conversation." Like, that's not who I am. I've not been that guy for a long time, and it might be an antisocial personality trait. It might be one of those things where it's looked down upon by some people. But to me, when I jump on a game, I just want to shoot shit. I don't want to talk to people I don't know. If I'm going to do anything social, I'll do it with my friends, you know. I'm not that player type, and the people who do that, more power to them. I generally think it's pretty interesting when you can hear somebody trying to play as a team with randoms and asking if you've got mics and trying to warn people and stuff. I think it's cute, but it's not what I'm signed up for, you know. I'm a single-player gamer fundamentally, so I play this like single-player and just pretty much ignore them. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean I'm not a team player at times. I will go to revive and I will help if I can, and I will use my healing packs on, shall we say, other people or lesser skilled players, because when you play this game on this difficulty, which is standard, this game is a joke. And it leads me to one of the more contested areas of the beta, in my opinion, and that is the balance. So there were 3 difficulties, I think, to my knowledge. I only played 2 of them. I jumped into a lobby on the medium difficulty. We got absolutely demolished. Demolished is an understatement. There were moments where they were constantly throwing hordes, and there was always 6 specials on screen at all times, and it was just completely untenable, borderline like masochistic, and just lunatic in its design, and I don't really understand what was going on. and then I started playing the game on standard, and the contrast between standard and the middle difficulty is, it's almost insulting in how different it is. In this difficulty, you'll never die, you'll never go down, you'll probably never need to heal. As long as everybody's pulling their weight, you're going to have a very smooth sailing experience where you do enough shooting and see enough danger, but none of it's ever really all that close or real. And this kind of massive divide, I think, is hopefully something that they're going to remedy in the full game. And the way that this is different from Left 4 Dead is that this game has this upgrade system. And the upgrade systems involve using these cards. They're a little bit like the burn cards in Titanfall. And they give you certain statistics and certain buffs and passives. And
I'm from Ukraine.
There's a guy from the Ukraine trying to see if anyone's on microphone, bless him. And I'm going to look to try and mute him. Sorry, dude. I hope he found somebody to talk to and had a good time, but I'm not looking for that. I was jumping on to get some B-roll, and he was very loud, as you just heard. But the game is balanced around these cards, and when you first start playing, you don't have any. And if you look into them, the first few you get, changes your melee weapon, adds a little bit of this, adds a little bit of that. None of them are too crazy. But the more you play, and the more money that you get, and the more cards you purchase, you realise they're going to make a huge difference. And I would liken it to, if anybody's played Gears of War 4, the Horde mode in Gears of War 4 had cards as well as upgrades, and the starting cards were dog shit, and if you upgraded them and grinded them and got the really good ones, you were like 5 to 10 times more capable. And I feel like Back 4 Blood is definitely being balanced and designed around these cards. And I think that's a cool idea for people that like to make builds, people that like the grind, but I think it's potentially dangerous because it makes me think that they're going to get all the really good stuff behind having to have all this grind, all these microtransactions or loot crates or battle passes or season passes or any other cancer that's eating away at the core of good old games. And I feel like this kind of difficulty system and indeed game framework lend themselves very easily to exploitable systems. And I'm a big fan of a game where I can turn it on and my sheer fundamentals and just skill in playing will carry me through the game. And then if I want to use the upgrades and the abilities and all the cool stuff, I can do that and have a different experience and a fun experience, right? However, I'm not a fan of a game where no matter how good I am, it doesn't matter unless I'm wearing the right things. That's the kind of thing that really, really puts me off and makes me not want to play. And I definitely got a taste of that in this game, just by sheer proxy of how it felt on that other difficulty. And I don't have any footage of the middle difficulty, guys, because the beta had ended by the time I realised I probably should have recorded some. But it was the first few matches that I had, and I was playing with some good players as well. I was playing with Godfather Dictator, I was playing with TDS, and I was playing with Sloth. And together, we were communicating, we were doing everything that we can do, we were playing as a team. We had our head on a swivel, and we were getting stomped. And of course, there's always going to be learning and teething problems with new games, but it was kind of interesting coming off of all that foundation, that bedrock of Left 4 Dead experience. And I say that bedrock, it's been a long time since I played those games, guys. When I played Left 4 Dead, I played it on console, I played it on 360. I played it with some friends I don't even speak to anymore, some friends I don't even know where they are in life, to give you an idea of how time passes and how transient some relationships can be. So a lot has passed, a lot has changed, and you come back to this and you see these vestigial elements and you see this DNA of this really good franchise. And how many people have been wanting a new Left 4 Dead? And think about all the cool properties of Left 4 Dead 2 on PC with mods and all the potential. And then you look into this where it's kind of aping a lot of modern design and paradigms. It's kind of doing nothing all that interesting and different. It's not doing what Left 4 Dead did when it came out. I'd never played anything quite like that game. And it changed things for me, as limited as my idea on shooters were. It absolutely blew my mind. And this game feels like a lame knockoff of Left 4 Dead. And it seems like it's got this free-to-play MMO grindy bullshit thrown in there just to satiate those people that want to spend their whole life grinding missions. The daily systems in your destinies and insert your favourite shooter that you play for loot. I don't know, I don't want to sound overly harsh because I do think that there's a lot of decent foundations here. But Godfather said it best when he was first describing it to me. He said something about the game feels off, and I completely agree. I think the mouse in this game is weird. I could not get my sense to be what I wanted it to be. I went into the training area with the guns and the reticles and everything. I converted my sense across, I measured all my information and got my perfect sensitivity, and it was wrong. The way the game's measuring sensitivity was not accurate and it felt off. And that's one of those things, immediately guys, when the mouse is slightly off for me, I don't want to play. And if I do play a game where the mouse is off, I have to adjust to that mouse, and I don't really like the experience of knowing that my aim feels shitty, basically. And you'll notice in this gameplay that I'm favouring the melee system. And usually I'm not a person that likes melee at all, but because the aim didn't feel so good, I was using the melee because it just was frustrating me. And there's moments where the game feels pretty damn nice movement-wise and mobility-wise, because you can climb a lot of things, and you get a speed boost if you tap sprint and then jump after it, and you can probably do some fancy input to turn it into a bunny hop, because Source Engine had bunny hops on them. I don't know if this is Source, it's probably Unreal. So there is some cool stuff there to busy yourself with while you're playing, but the game's performance is really choppy. And I'm not running this on a lame rig, guys. I'm running this on a 3080. I've got good components and a good PC, and I'm not streaming. Obviously I'm recording, and it does take a hit. But even when I'm not recording, the game is not running as it should be. It's not optimized in the way it needs to be, and I'm running with everything on low too. I play games on the lowest possible settings so I can get the highest possible frames, and the frames were all over the place. And if you play on console and you think 60 FPS is perfect, and you're going to have a good time because it's probably going to hit that, but when you play on higher frame rates and those frame rates fluctuate, it makes the game not feel as good. And once you get used to a game feeling really nice, it feels shitty to not have that, you know? And when you spend all this money buying new technology, you expect it to perform. You expect to get what your hardware that you're given. And this is where PC gaming really falls down, because there's no real guarantee that the people that make the game are going to make it the way that it's going to utilize that hardware the correct manner. And I really hope this is some legacy old build, and the gold version of the game has got the optimization down and everything works nice, and they fixed the mouse, and it feels better to play. Because the beta was laggy, it was all kinds of weird shit happening with latency, and not only was it laggy, but the person that hosted the game was not the person that was always the server, because every single time you go to a safe room and it resets, it was migrating where the server was. So I would join somebody on a Canadian host, and then the moment we got onto the second scenario, the host would be in England and Canada would be suffering. And like, as much as that's nice for me because I'm the English one, it kind of sucks, because that's one of those conversations you have with your friends, you know, where you go, are you hosting or am I hosting? And what you're essentially saying is, are you going to get shitty delay or do you want me to deal with it? And you take it in turns, you know? If they like the game more than you, give them host, give them a nicer feeling game, and you can just play it and not care as much, and vice versa. But when it's just automatically jumping around, you can think that you're on good ping, and then you check the ping and you're on 140 ping. And what it led to, which I've mentioned a few times, you might have heard it on stream, but the very first thing I did when we were playing as a team, I had a shotgun, and I shot a zombie, I flicked 180 degrees to look behind me to make sure I wasn't being flanked, and behind me was a teammate, and I dumped another shot into him off of pressing my mouse once. Because the ping was high, I was double shooting, and it's things like that that you might not think is a big deal, but I don't have that on any other game. And this game showed me that, and worse still, on these games there's friendly fire, and the harder the difficulty, the more severe the penalty. If we were playing on the hardest difficulty, I would have killed my own teammate on a shot I never fired, because the servers aren't very good, and the game was essentially running like shit. And I think there are a lot of qualities here. I think it's one of those games where it does everything to a decent reckoning, but is that enough, you know? I find myself at the moment with video games, because I am waiting for something to do something new or blow me away or really impress me, I find myself saying this statement of, it's a good game, but it's a good game because we're starved of games right now. And that is probably my perfect summation of Back 4 Blood. I don't think this is anywhere near as landmark or as interesting as Left 4 Dead. I think it's kind of a shadow of that game in many ways that should be far, far more interesting than it is. And I think the only reason that I like it as much as I do, which is to say not too much, is because right now there is nothing to play. There are no games unless you're already established. New games that are coming out are the same thing repeated over and over and over. They all look the same, they all play the same, they're all using the same techniques to steal money from young, impulsive people, and none of it is innovative, none of it is interesting. And if you want those two things, you're looking into the indie market, you're looking into the small teams, the kickstarted works, because modern gaming is in this prison of its own design to fleece money out of us with battle passes and live services, and I don't care about those. And it's for that very reason that I'm kind of scared for this game. What did you think though, guys? Are you excited? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Please let me know, and you take care now.